Man, let me tell you what went down on Sportcenter today because it caught everybody off guard. We've got breaking news with the New York Knicks, and this one really turned heads. The team has made a surprising decision heading into training camp, and honestly, it just adds to what has already been one of the wildest Septembers Knicks fans have seen in years. Every single week, it feels like Leon Rose is pulling another move out of the hat, stacking up this roster piece by piece, and now we've got the latest update. Training camp is about to be one of the most competitive camps the Knicks have ever hosted, and you can feel the buzz building around who's actually going to earn those final roster spots. And listen, this hasn't just been your typical slow build to the season. It's been constant movement. Every time you think they might be done, boom! Another deal drops, another signing announced. Sportcenter broke it down, and what makes it even more exciting is the timing. Media Day is right around the corner, so all of this is happening while the entire league is shifting back into full swing. Knicks fans don't even get a chance to catch their breath before the next headline pops up. Now, here's where things got really interesting. A lot of the conversation recently has been about those two-way contracts and how New York was going to use them. Everybody knew Kevin McCullar Jr. had one of those spots locked up, so in reality, they had two other slots to play with. The question was, who would they give those to? There was speculation about rookies, a lot of chatter about which young guys might get the nod. Names were floating around, people were guessing left and right, but nothing was concrete until now. Because Sportcenter confirmed it, straight from the reporting. The Knicks are giving those two-way contracts to Trey Jemison, Kevin McCullar Jr., and Tosen. Boom! 3 players, 3 very different skill sets, and all of them officially part of the Knicks picture heading into camp. That was the moment where you could feel the panel light up, because this wasn't just a throwaway move. This was New York making a statement that they're covering their bases, addressing needs, and making sure Mike Brown has plenty of options to evaluate. And you know what? The first name they dove into was Jemison. And that made total sense, because out of the 3, he's probably the most recognizable to NBA fans. His path has been unique. He's bounced around a bit, but everywhere he's gone, he's shown flashes that make you think this guy could stick if given the right situation. That's what had everyone leaning in, because the Knicks might actually be that situation. Sportcenter laid it out. Jemison's resume is short but telling. He's been in the league just a couple of years, played for multiple teams, and along the way, he's had stretches where he's looked like a real contributor. And for a Knicks team that has questions around big man depth, this is exactly the kind of under-the-radar signing that could prove valuable. Remember, Mitchell Robinson has dealt with his share of injuries, Ariel Hukporti is still proving himself after his own health issues, and while Karl Anthony Towns can man that position, he's also going to be relied on heavily at the 4. That leaves plenty of room for someone like Jemison to come in and fight for real minutes. And here's the kicker. Sportcenter reminded us that Jemison's biggest advantage over someone like Alex Len is that he can sign a two-way. That flexibility matters. It gives the Knicks an easier pathway to plug him in when needed without committing a full roster spot right away. That's a big deal when you're talking about a team with championship aspirations, because it means you can experiment, you can adjust on the fly, and you can reward production without messing up roster balance. So yeah, that was the first deep dive, and the way the crew broke it down really made it clear the Knicks aren't just throwing darts at the wall here. They're being intentional, they're being strategic, and they're making sure every box is checked heading into camp. And let's be real, if Jemison can seize that opportunity, he's got a real chance to carve out a role, including Kevin McCullar Jr. Now, Knicks fans, this is the name that jumps out the most, because we all remember when the Knicks took him late in the draft, with the 56th overall pick. At the time, it felt like a real steal. Because here's a guy who at one point was being talked about as a possible first-round talent. The only reason he slipped that far was because of the knee injury that slowed him down and kept him from showing his best self during the pre-draft process. So instead of hearing his name called early, he slid all the way to the back end, and the Knicks decided to take the gamble. And let's be honest, that gamble is already looking like a smart one, New York gave him patience, gave him time to fully heal, and once he got healthy, we immediately started to see why he was so highly regarded. First with the G League, then with the Summer League roster, he showed flashes of exactly the kind of player the Knicks thought they were getting. In Vegas this year, McCullar went off 21.5 points per game, hitting 51% from the field and an elite 91% from the free throw line. Those aren't empty stats either. He showed confidence, poise, and the ability to compete on both ends. On top of the scoring, he chipped in across the board, 5 rebounds, a couple of assists each night, really showing he could fit into different roles. Now, his Summer League run ended early because of that facial contusion. The Knicks didn't push it, and they didn't need to. They'd already seen enough. They saw a guy who was producing at a high level and proving he could hang. And it wasn't just in Vegas. Back in the G League, he gave them 13 solid games of production, 11.6 points, 4.8 rebounds, 4.2 assists. Not superstar numbers, but exactly what you want from a young player developing in that system. So, when you look at McCullar now locking in a two-way deal, it almost feels like the most predictable move of the offseason. He was basically already in that role last year, and now he's back again by picking up the qualifying offer. The interesting part is the bigger picture. The Knicks genuinely see McCullar as part of their future. The catch, though, is the financial side. They don't currently have the flexibility to convert him into a standard NBA deal. They've been upfront about that with him, but that doesn't mean they don't value him. In fact, it's the opposite. They've made it clear that they like him more than what a simple two-way slot represents. And McCullar knows it. He's buying in, understanding that his chance will come. If there's one guy on the fringes of the roster who could actually break through and earn real minutes, it's him. Whether that's as an injury replacement, a situational defender, or someone who just forces his way onto the floor by being too good to ignore, the pathway is there. Of course, the Knicks are being careful. He looks healthy, but that knee injury is still in the rear view, and they want to make sure he's fully set up to succeed long-term. The good news? McCullar isn't some raw teenager. After 5 years in college, he's more mature, more experienced, and doesn't need a drawn-out timeline. It feels like it's only a matter of time, maybe later this season, maybe next year, before he ends up with a standard NBA contract in New York. And then, we've got to talk about Tosen. This is another intriguing addition. He comes over after spending last season with Brooklyn, and right away, you can see why the Knicks wanted him. I actually called it before it happened, that he would be a great fit, and now, here he is on a two-way deal. For this makes perfect sense. He probably could have chased other opportunities, but strategically, this was the best move. On a team like the Knicks, he provides depth at multiple forward spots, and his defense and versatility check all the boxes this front office looks for. Signing a two-way doesn't close any doors for him, it actually opens one. It's a chance to show enough to earn a real roster spot, and that's exactly what he's setting out to do. His resume is solid. 28 NBA games with Brooklyn last year, averaging nearly double figures with 5 points, grabbing over 4 rebounds, dishing out a couple assists. He shot just under 43% from the floor, 31% from deep. Not lights-out shooting, but enough to keep defenses honest. His PER was around 11, which shows he was contributing when on the floor. But the biggest calling card? His defense. Even with the offensive inconsistencies, he's already built a reputation as a high-energy, switchable defender who can guard multiple positions. And it doesn't stop there. He also tore it up in the G League with Long Island, averaging 20 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 3.3 assists. That's the kind of production that shows he's not just surviving at the NBA fringe, he's pushing for more. Add in his college career at Princeton, where he was one of the top playmakers in the Ivy League, leading the conference in assists 2 straight years, and you get the full picture of a player who's more than just a role guy. At 6.7, able to swing between small forward and power forward, he gives the Knicks depth they didn't have and fits the profile of someone who can step in sooner rather than later. With locked in, though, it does bring up a tough consequence. Dink Pate didn't get the two-way spot. That means after his Exhibit 10 deal runs out, unless he somehow pushes past another guy in training camp, he's likely headed straight to the G League roster. And once he's there, the Knicks don't fully control his rights. Another team could scoop him up, and that's a real concern. A lot of fans were hoping he'd secure one of those precious two-way contracts, and the fact that he didn't leaves some uncertainty. Do the Knicks not see what the fans do? Or are they simply prioritizing more NBA-ready guys for now? It's something we'll have to keep an eye on. At the end of the day, though, this is how roster building works. You can't keep everyone. Some players slip through, and others step up. For now, the Knicks are betting on McCullar and Ama to be those guys who can contribute, develop, and eventually push for standard contracts. It's a balancing act between managing the cap, keeping flexibility, and still stockpiling talent. And while fans may disagree on certain moves, the overall strategy is clear: depth, versatility, and patience. So, while the McCullar situation feels steady, and Ama's arrival feels like upside, the Dink Pate question mark remains. We'll see how that plays out. Until then, Knicks fans just have to stay tuned, because this front office clearly has a plan, and it's all about keeping options open while continuing to strengthen the pipeline of talent.